This is the Coach John Walsh pregame show with John Piper and Rick Threlkill, only on the Denton Guyer Football Radio Network.
Good morning, Coach, and thanks for sitting down with us again this week. The team's coming off two emotional, high-energy wins, starting the season 2-0 against two teams that will go deep into the playoffs, no doubt. First time Guyer starts the season 2-0 since 2009. The team's playing with a lot of confidence and swagger right now. What else does this start do for the Wildcats?
Well, it's been 10 years since we've been 2-0 because our schedule's so big, and we've always got an Allen or a DeSoto or a Cedar Hill in front of us, and it's always, we've always dropped that game, but it's always made us better. So answering the challenge this year has been fun. I don't schedule games to lose games. I schedule games to make us better, and that's what I told the kids. We're 2-0, and we got to make sure we're going to be better because we're 2-0, and we don't start reading the internet and start thinking we're somebody we're not.
Coach, you mentioned last week how excited you and the staff were to get to experience all the history of the Cotton Bowl has to offer. On the broadcast, you probably didn't get a chance to hear it. Obviously, you're prepping for the game, but we put together a little intro to the game talking about the history of the Cotton Bowl and how important that stadium has been for the game. What was it like rolling into Fair Park early Saturday morning and preparing for the battle against Cedar Hill?
Man, it was really awesome. It was really one of the coolest things we did that day besides actually pulling out the victory because I got a hold of the Cotton Bowl, and they put us in a banquet room up top, and it was full of pictures, 8x10s. I mean, just huge, big pictures, bigger than 8x10. But it was capturing the Red River, Classic, all the legends of OU and Texas that you and I know. Some of the kids don't know, but then they know Vince Young and Colt McCoy. But it was a great place to be for. I saw all the coaches reading it like a museum, and we did our devotional and our pregame up there. But before we even got to that point, the lights weren't on yet. Our dads had showed up. They had our speakers blasting at 6:30 a.m. The sun was still not up, so we walked the field in the dark. By the time they were coming back up, the sun was coming out, and then we got up there, and like I said, that banquet room that was like a Cotton Bowl museum. So we like to have a great travel itinerary and give them kind of what a college experience is like at the high school level. And that day was definitely one of those days, having an afternoon game or morning game, and then at a special place.
What a cool opportunity for those kids and the coaching staff to see the sunrise there with downtown Dallas, Texas as a backdrop. I was on the phone with my partner, Rick Threlkill, early that morning, and I could tell he didn't get a whole lot of sleep, nor did I. But right before the game started, I asked him, and when that 3-minute pregame special came on, we were both, it was almost like we were getting ready for a rock concert, man. We were getting hyped up ourselves. So I can't imagine what it was like being down there on the field right before kickoff. A lot of energy. Yeah,
it was a lot of energy. It was a really cool feeling. And another reason we schedule big like that is to give these kids some playoff atmosphere 7 weeks early. And that definitely gave us that.
Well, Coach, just like the Alito game is a very physical game, the heat played a factor, even though it was an early 10 a.m. start. What's the injury report this week, and will we see big Grant Mahon back?
Yeah, we're exactly like we were last week. Grant is really close to playing, but I'm not going to let him see the field. Jaden Fugett's already moving the elbow around and doing rehab. So everybody who played last week's going to play this week, and those who didn't will not. But rest assured, they're going to be ready by district play.
Coach Walsh, we're back at C.H. Collins for a Thursday night game this week. You'll be in somewhat of a normal routine. If I remember correctly, North Crowley was not overly big last year, but they had a lot of good athletes. They're off to a sluggish 0-2 start. We were talking before we went on air that the computers somehow have picked the Guyer Wildcats by 59 points, which I don't put a whole lot of weight in the computer. It takes some algorithm and figures out the total offense, defense, all those types of things. But is it hard not to overlook a team like North Crowley? You have a bye week the following week. How do you prepare your team to not overlook a team where you're a 59-point favorite?
Yeah, I don't know who all reads that stuff. I make sure I don't. I try to stay on Netflix or ESPN and be done. But I think our kids have bought into just take care of ourselves. We give them our opponent's alignment. We give them our opponent's tendencies, and we watch video, but we don't get caught up in all the hype. It was hard the last 2 weeks with Alito in their history and Cedar Hill with their program, prowess. But when it's games like this, we got to take care of our business, and we better make sure we take care of ourselves. We only get one practice this week. It's weird. Saturday to Thursday, I give the guys off Sunday, Monday. Today's our only practice, and Wednesday's our walkthrough. We play a game. So we had to keep it simple, and I want to make sure our kids play a good, clean game for the home opener.
As a staff, is there any preference? I know now with the shared stadiums, with most school districts have here in North Texas, you have to play a fair amount of Thursday night games just to share the stadium with the other Denton ISD teams. As a staff, do you have a preference on a Thursday versus Friday night game?
Yeah, there's lots of factors that go into that. For our fan base, you want Friday night because people have little kids. It's hard to get up to go to the game and then get them up for school because they're out there drinking Coke and getting sugar rush, and it's hard to get them to bed. But there are some positives to it. For the program, I'm a big recovery guy, and if I can get Friday, Saturday, Sunday to recover, I think it helps our players. And I ain't going to say practice is overrated, but you don't need 3 practices. We're going to play to December. We're going to get plenty of practice in. We don't have to have 3 a week. So if I can get 2-week practices and a few Thursdays in there, plus, it's district friendly. We got to respect Braswell and Ryan for the Friday nights they want. And we all work together, and it works out great.
Coach, after this Thursday night game, you'll have a much-needed bye week. This will give the banged-up players we just talked about some extra time to heal up before district play starts with Keller Central back here at C.H. Collins on Thursday night, September 26th. What will you be looking to improve most during the bye week? Is that a week that, each and every season you have special things to put in, maybe new offensive plays, defensive schemes?
Yeah, I'm pretty transparent on this kind of stuff. So, the number one thing that I want done in open week is fresh mind and fresh bodies. I want our kids to recover. I want our coaches to recover. I want our coaches eating dinner with their kids and wife at home during that week. But we're going to get some good work in. We'll probably get maybe 3 days of about an hour and 15 minutes of work. I would suspect not to overlook anybody. I know offensively we're going to work Keller Central because they run a 3-3 stack, and all we've seen is 4-man fronts. I think Coach Ramsey's probably going to work on some Southlake 2 weeks ahead. And with all that going on, you can guarantee it's going to be fundamentals. We haven't tackled it great these first 2 weeks, so we're going to hone in on some of that. Refine some route running. Eli just work on his mechanics of being perfect, and so it gets you to scale back a little bit. You're not in a hurry to get things done for Friday night, and plus get my coaches home with their kids.
Last week we talked about the supporting cast. You said you were going to get the ball to De Leon, and you sure did. 3 big catches for Brandon, and he almost had a TD. That was nice to see.
Yes, we got some guys that are not just, people think they're role players for us, but they're good football players that I have to get involved on our side of the ball. Defense has been playing a lot of guys all year long already, and De Leon is a guy. I think Romar showed everybody in Alito that he was going to be a guy people got to contend with, and I knew De Leon was one of those guys too. And so yeah, it was good to see him, catch and run, like he did.
Several more big plays this week, but again, it starts and stops with the ground game. Another big game for Cadrick Cobbs, led by those big hogs up front we've been talking about all season. So far, after the first 2 games, on 52 attempts, he's racked up 437 yards and 6 TDs. He's been noted in media all across the state and the country for the work he's been putting in and the results he's getting. Talk to us about the importance of controlling the line of scrimmage.
Well, that's how you're going to win it all. People who put up big numbers throughout the air all year long and don't take care of that running game, it's false. It's fool's gold. You're not going to win a state championship. There are exceptions, but the percentages say you better run that football good if you want to be a state champion, if you want to be a Super Bowl champion, if you want to be a national champion at college. Stopping the run and running the football are things you got to do. Again, there's exceptions, but not very many of them. So I'm really pleased that we are passing that. Even though we've given up big points on defense, we have contained the run pretty well. Cedar Hill went on one drive at the end of the game with some ground success. And if you hold Jason McClellan to 120, I consider that a good night. And then obviously averaging 300 yards on the ground is a good thing for us.
Defense gave up some big plays Saturday, but a lot of that seemed to be on broken plays, quarterback scrambles. I thought they played much better this week, especially in the second half when they got pressure on Caden Salter. He was going to be a big playmaker. He was going to make his plays, the very talented Cedar Hill quarterback. How do you think your defense looked this past week?
Well, again, a whole lot better than they did the week before. And I think a great adjustment Coach Ramsey and staff made at halftime. Our game plan was to keep that quarterback in the pocket and make him earn every third down and make him work it down the field. And we weren't getting a whole lot of pressure on him, and he was throwing a bunch of hope balls, and they were making hope come true and connected on them. Second half, we came after the quarterback, and then we got we got some sacks and pressured him, and then we got several stops, and so I was really pleased. And I think they'd have had a better day the second half when they made those stops, if we'd have just answered with some scores, go up 2 scores or 3 scores, I think you'd have saw maybe a more defeated Cedar Hill and a really fired up defense. But we turned the ball over once on a fumble and went on downs that didn't give them that that life.
Yeah, I believe you were down in there in the red zone,
yes,
getting ready to score again, and like you said, going up two touchdowns at that point would have probably deflated the Cedar Hill Longhorns.
No question, and you got to play the momentum. You got to play. We should have took care of the defense right there, and I think they would have. I don't think they'd have gotten the end zone again after that.
I know you're trying to learn some things about your team with these non-district matchups. With that being said, what will you try to get accomplished this week against North Crowley?
Again, I want to play clean. I want to, with one-day practice, my biggest fear is, you always hear about the ugly win, and I don't want an ugly win. We played really crisp and really clean on offense. We're improving on defense, and I want to make sure we get better this week and not just get through this week. I don't care who's on the schedule. If you want to be, you gotta do. I always tell our guys, do something better you did last week, and hopefully we do a lot better than we did last week.
After Saturday's game, I heard a lot of folks commenting that Guyer looked bigger and quicker than Cedar Hill. When was the last time you heard that statement from an opposing team such as a Cedar Hill or a Toledo?
Yeah. It's funny, in pregame, I actually made that comment. I'm actually made the, I've never been on. We did that. Was that our 7th time we've played them or 8th time we've played them? And I've never been in pregame going, man, I think we're winning the eyeball test, which means nothing. But I've been on the other side where we never won the eyeball test against Cedar Hill. So it's good. You just get confidence as a player, as a coach, when you look around at your teammates and you look at the team you're fixing to play and know that you got the physical advantage.
You're part of that. If you're a defensive lineman, offensive lineman, running back, and you look over at the other team and they outweigh you about 20 pounds across the board, it's a little deflating. So to have that swagger, and like you said, to look across the line pregame and say, you know what, I think I can manhandle my opponent today, makes a big difference.
Absolutely. You can't buy confidence. You got to earn it, and they earned it from January on to right now.
Coach, you had a new kicker in the lineup Saturday, and freshman Posada after the injury to J.C. Smith. Other than the first point after attempt, he looked really solid for you. Rick and I were talking up in the booth as the game was winding down Saturday. You're down 3. Do you bring in a freshman kicker to try to tie the game, or do you go for the win? With your powerful offensive line. Obviously, you went with the win with Cadrick Cobbs, but did it enter your mind to bring in that freshman kicker to tie it up and go into overtime?
It wouldn't have entered my mind if he was a senior kicker. We were going for it no matter what. I'm a pretty aggressive when it comes to deciding between kicking game and offense. Now we've made some big decisions before on on kicking the ball. But I heard Coach Ramsey's interview last night, actually, and he brought up the one at Friendship.